Hello, I'm Ken Boddie, delighted to be with you to talk about the importance of the Oregon Jewish Museum and Center for Holocaust Education. I've been an anchor and reporter at KOIN TV for more than 3 decades, and I've had the pleasure of covering the museum and its exhibits.
2020 has been a year that has presented unparalleled challenges, including the death and devastation caused by COVID-19. We have also seen a dramatic increase in white nationalism and anti-Semitism. 2020 has also created new opportunities for both our society and for OJMCHE.
The Oregon Jewish Museum does 2 things very well. It connects visitors to the importance of resisting injustice and supporting their peers, but it also demonstrates the power of education and the inspiration of creativity. When State Senator Rob Wagner began his initiative to mandate statewide Holocaust education, he turned to the Oregon Jewish Museum to work with him. I had the privilege of being at the museum when Governor Kate Brown signed into passage the Holocaust and Genocide Education Mandate.
This bill would not have happened if it wasn't for the diligence, experience, expertise, and passion of Judy and Amanda.
For all visitors, there are lessons in how to recognize the roots of hate and how to participate in a vibrant, inclusive democracy built on understanding and embracing differences. There could not be a more meaningful time than now to engage audiences with the museum's work.
The Oregon Jewish Museum and Center for Holocaust Education has been such a lift during this period. It's been such a level of political violence in the city of Portland and nationally. But it is the museum that helped hold this community together, providing important spaces for us to come together and to discuss solutions that move us forward together.
Since COVID-19 forced the museum's physical closure, museum educators zoomed into action, talking with educators about how we could help. Remote learning lesson plans, professional development opportunities for teachers, and Zoom classroom visits are now the underpinnings of the museum's offerings.
And I was also lucky enough to have Amanda join us as a guest speaker to teach our students about resistance and rescue in the Holocaust, to which my students responded quite strongly. I'm also tremendously grateful for the virtual Holocaust Memorial Tour that OJMCHE launched this year, which has allowed my students to connect with your work.
My first time in the museum was a really eye-opening experience because I learned a lot of history and realities that had been missing or idealized in my classes. I'm currently on the student advisory board, and it's been really wonderful to be able to meet new people and connect with others during this time. Despite COVID, we plan to connect with students across the state in a variety of ways, all virtually, and I'm really proud to be a part of it.
Nor has the pandemic stopped the museum from excelling both in exhibitions and public programs. Last May, in the midst of the Black Lives Matter protests, it began activating its street-facing ground floor windows. Now any of us can walk by and see panels from the core exhibitions: Oregon Jewish Stories, Discrimination and Resistance, an Oregon Primer, and great art. The museum is also participating in the Council of American Jewish Museums Oral History Project, chronicling these times, capturing the way we have collectively and individually experienced COVID-19, the struggles for justice, the 2020 presidential election, and the aftermath. 35 volunteer interviewers have interviewed 230 individuals from 9 counties.
So I called my sister at the end of August. It was her birthday. And this was the only time that I really acknowledged what was going on. Really, I called her. I said, "Happy birthday!" And she said, "Yeah." She lives in Austin. And she said, "Yeah." And she started laughing, and then I started laughing, and then she started laughing, and then I started laughing, and then I started crying, and then she started crying. I mean, we were like hysterical. And it was just kind of like, yeah, happy birthday. You know, it was like it was just some moment that we both acknowledged, like, this is really terrible.
Oral histories are an invaluable source of community history. There's so much that you can learn about a person and their life from a 2-hour conversation. OJMCHE has a little over 800 interviews that comprise our core oral history project. The interviews span 6 decades and capture the stories of people from all walks of life in Oregon's Jewish community. It is our job to preserve and share the experiences of our community, and collecting history in this format is priceless.
The museum's virtual, vibrant online programs keep all of us enlightened and informed with an amazing array of films, talks, and discussions.
I am so honored to be a part of this year's educational programs that offered classes virtually to students from this museum. These classes talked about using narratives and storytelling as a means of bringing about changes for greater good. They are all important topics during the time when we are thinking about equity, social justice, and immigrants of color. I want to thank the museum for being a valuable partner in our journey. Thank you very much.
I want to tell you something about my history. More than 20 years ago, I discovered all kinds of memorabilia and papers in the basement of my synagogue in unmarked boxes. It was shocking, but also a thrill because I realized this memorabilia should be saved and preserved for others. And I realized it's the Oregon Jewish Museum that is this kind of a place for that purpose. Today, as a volunteer in the archives at the museum, one thing I've realized is that all the things of history in the past are repeating itself today. We have economic distress, joblessness, inequality, and hate. And I'm glad to see that the museum is branching out to shed light on these issues as an educational resource for everybody.
I know we all want to see the museum continue to be a place for safe and open dialogue around some of today's most challenging issues. The work that we do together matters now more than ever as we bring forward lessons from the Holocaust and the forces of prejudice to build a pluralistic community of shared values, inclusion, and respect.
In the world we live in today, we are a strong voice for teaching tolerance through our exhibits, films, programs, and tours for school children. I cannot emphasize enough that we are a museum that teaches. We want every visitor to depart with a better understanding of our history and our common humanity.
You are here because you agree with me that the pillars of shared values, inclusion, and respect are the indispensable pillars of an open, democratic society. The Oregon Jewish Museum and Center for Holocaust Education is Portland's home for those ideals, and home is where we start building a better community.